we're going to talk about alternative investments. I generally don't consider everything that some people consider alternatives to be alternatives. For example, some people consider real estate investing to be an alternative investment. I really don't. I consider stocks, bonds, real estate to be kind of standard investments, and alternatives to be something above and beyond that. Typically, they're a speculative investment, something that doesn't generate cash. It doesn't generate dividends or earnings or interest or rents or anything like that. It's kind of speculative, like a comic book. You pay somebody something for it, and you hope to be able to sell it for more down the road, right? Classic speculative investments are things like empty land, precious metals, crypto assets like Bitcoin, right? These sorts of more speculative things. My favorite one, of course, is Beanie Babies from the 1990s, but it's getting to the point where young people don't understand this example anymore. So I try not to use it too much, but it is my favorite alternative, speculative investment. My general recommendation when it comes to these speculative investments is limited to a single digit percentage of your portfolio, right? Under 10%. So if you want to own some Bitcoin or something, own Bitcoin. I don't care, but don't put 50% of your portfolio in Bitcoin, right? Not only is it very volatile, but there's real long-term risk there. Could it go to zero? It could. Okay. Now, if you're a true Bitcoin believer, you think there's no way it could possibly go to zero, but it's not impossible, right? There are risks there. And so limit those risks by limiting how much of your portfolio you put into it, and put the rest of your portfolio into more traditional stuff like stocks, bonds, real estate, etc. But if you want to have some of your portfolio in these sorts of things, one or two of them, I think that's fine. Gold's been really popular the last couple of years because it's skyrocketed in price. So I get more questions about gold now than I did for decades before the last couple of years when it skyrocketed in price. Be careful you're not just chasing performance. Right? It becomes very common when we're talking about speculative investments. People buy something because it's going up. Well, oftentimes they bought it because it went up and now it goes down. So be very careful with that, but limit it in your portfolio. You don't have to invest in any of it. It's all totally optional. In fact, real estate's optional. You don't have to have real estate in your portfolio. Stocks and bonds will do it. In fact, there's lots of people out there, especially younger people, that are like, I'm not even going to do bonds. At least for a while. I think some of that's probably performance chasing. They just don't have any experience of living through 2008. And the bear markets in 2020 and 2022 were so brief, and maybe you didn't have very much invested, that you didn't really feel the emotional, visceral pain that comes from losing money you used to own. But it's not crazy for a young person to be in 100% stock, so I don't have a problem with that either. But be a little bit careful as you get into the alternative investment space, particularly in the private investment space, right? Scams can be run in public companies as well. See Enron for details, but it's much less common, right? It's much more common when you're in private investments, whether that be private real estate or some sort of private equity or VC or, some sort of speculative asset. You're much more likely to get scammed. So you got to be very careful when you go into that space. All the usual investment principles apply. You got to diversify, you got to watch your costs, you got to watch your tax efficiency and those sorts of things. Calculate your return accurately, including the value of your time. But it's fine to put a little bit of your money into that sort of stuff. It might add a little bit of variety to your life, and who knows, might even really boost your investment return, might turn into a side gig. So don't be afraid to add some variety to your life if it's something you're particularly interested in. If you're really interested in it, you're probably going to get really good at it. So go for it.
The hosts of The White Coat Investor are not licensed accountants, attorneys, or financial advisors. This podcast is for your entertainment and information only. It should not be considered professional or personalized financial advice. You should consult the appropriate professional for specific advice relating to your situation.